Welcome back to our special budget coverage where we are building up to the big story that is going to unfold in just about 45-50 minutes from now. Arun Jaitley delivering what many believe is his first big test, a big opportunity, a last chance as some are describing it, for the finance minister to bring in the Achhe Din that were promised by the Narendra Modi government. His first full budget in the truest sense of the term. Mr. Jaitley there walking into Parliament just a short while ago along with his MOS Finance, Mr. Jayant Sinha. So all eyes will be on Mr. Jaitley on his big day today, the B-Day as we are calling it. And we are looking at the challenges here on headlines today ahead of Mr. Jaitley's budget. What are the 6 big challenges? We've discussed some of them in our first section. Let's look at another key challenge which we had started off with, which is the T word, which is tax reforms. How does Mr. Jaitley ensure major tax reforms, including GST, the goods and services tax? But before we come into that, Manishankar Iyer, you wanted to have a word on taxes.
Yeah.
And this belief that we need, as Gurcharan Das was suggesting, a flat, more rational tax rate in this country.
Since you've used the B word and the T word, I want to use the F word.
Oh dear.
I mean, revenue forgone. The revenue forgone in tax reforms that have been undertaken in the last 5 or 6 years averages about 5 lakh crore rupees a year. There are 30 to 35 lakh crore rupees which have been mafied to the highest paying tax individuals and corporations in the country.
So corporates
Now,
get away with tax breaks all the time?
No,
and you
they
believe
get
the rest
away
of
with subsidies from the government. This is the way in which language is misused.
Okay.
What is given to the tax to the big people is called incentives, and what's given to the really poor is called subsidies. And you condemn subsidies and you praise incentives. What I would like to see, and I'm sure I won't see it in this budget, is the total elimination of revenues forgone for a government that desperately needs revenues.
Okay. Ajay Jakar, from a farm perspective, from a tax perspective, is there any benefit that you'd like to see?
Yes, I think putting restrictions on export of agriculture commodities is an indirect tax on agriculture, and that's what we would like to be stem that. The exempt policy, that import-export policy of agriculture commodities that the UPA had for 10 years, I think so contributed greatly to farmer suicides in this country. Everything is not as simple as Maniji is putting it. It's not. There's a lot of grey matter which needs to be understood. Forget revenues forgone. I would say that remove restrictions on exports and let's start putting maximum permissible WTO permissible duties on import of commodities into the country to incentivize Make in India.
Okay. Yes, you wanted to have a quick word on taxes.
Yeah. Look, today is the budget day, which has to do with numbers, which has to do with plain, simple facts. And what I've seen over the last 10 minutes, starting from my good friend Sanjay Baru to my good friend Mani, is a complete sacrifice of the facts. Let me explain. It's very important that we do this. Mani mentioned about 5 lakh crores. If you were to look at the data, it turns out that most of that 5 lakh crores goes to the bottom half of the population in terms of customs duties being brought down, excise duties being brought down. So how you calculate revenue forgone is a very important attribute. It's not all, as you were saying, as Mani was saying, this corporate's getting it. Aam Aadmi is getting it and has got it. So therefore, look at, there's a budget statement, a revenue forgone statement put out by the Ministry of Finance for the last 6-7 years, which makes this point explicitly. So let us try and get a few facts on the table. Now coming to what Sanjay Babu said about, India is a great inequality country. I would like to ask him, just what is the evidence? The evidence is, according to the NSS data, that we have the inequality in India has stayed constant since 1983. That's 30 years. And secondly, as far as consumption inequality data is concerned, which is what we have, we are amongst the most equal countries in the world. Now coming to the important T word, which is taxes. If you look, basically, about 50% of the people in India who should pay taxes do not pay taxes. Number one. We are tax revenue. We are forego 50%. Now, who are these people who do not pay taxes, who should be paying taxes? It is not the rich that is above 15 lakhs a month, and it is not the poor if you will, below 5 to 8 lakhs a month. It's the middle income professionals. These are the doctors, these are the lawyers, these are the professionals who are self-employed, who do not come under the salary. See,
these are the economists is being suggested.
Okay. These are the people. They are not the poor. Please, do not get into this notion that the poor are the ones. These are, as far as inequality goes. Let's have facts on the table.
Let Sanjay respond quickly.
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, it's not about numbers, Surjit. It's about politics. For heaven's sake, a finance minister is an elected member of parliament who presents a budget in the Parliament of India for the people of India.
I agree.
For him to say that NSS shows that inequality has reduced, Indian inequality is less than Brazilian inequality or Russian inequality is nonsense.
Chinese inequality.
At the end of the day, this is a country of profound inequalities. Whether it's reducing or not reducing is not the issue. We are a nation of high inequalities. And I cannot see any finance minister of any political party in this country reduce a 30% tax rate on the top income group. One point. Yes. Second point is that I agree with Surjit, there are a lot of middle classes that do not pay income. But there are a lot of farmers who do not pay income. And while I agree with Mr. Jakar that you need to reform the farming sector, liberalize the farming sector, we should also bring rich farmers, the kulaks. We talk about agriculture and farm sector as something homogeneous, which it is not, as Mani correctly said. It is heterogeneous. And the land acquisition bill, all this agitation, the Jats of Western UP and Haryana are kulaks. We grew up with some terminology about agriculture. These are all kulaks who want to export but will not pay tax. Allow exports, tax those exports.
But can I just for a moment? Hold on. Can I for a moment come to the politics? We've got a couple of politicians there. You're a politician, Meera Sanyal, apart from being in the corporate world. Let's be clear. A lot of the things that are said on this table are impossible for a politician, as Sanjay rightly put it, for a finance minister who's elected to parliament from actually going ahead. Can any finance minister in this country, for example, tax the kulak? Can he tax the rich farmer and get away? He cannot, right? Let's be clear. Can he, for example, rationalize tax rates? He'll immediately be accused of a sellout. Money will be among the first to say that he's allowed high income groups to get away. So. And then on the other hand, you've got parties like yours which are giving subsidies to power, which are giving free water.
All to the rich and upper middle class.
1 minute. You've got to pay for them, you've got to get revenues. How is the finance minister in that situation going to achieve the kind of dramatic tax reforms that we talk about? I mean, politics in the end doesn't allow for dramatic tax reforms. Even GST has been caught at the end of the day in politics.
So I think, Rajdeep, let's talk about the budget, right?
Yes.
Several budgets ago, they talked about GST and they talked about the DTC, which was a, comprehensive reform. I have no idea what's happening with DTC. I would like to see that we actually have, to widen the tax base, simpler, stable tax regime. It's very simple to do. Today, if you and I have to fill out our income tax returns, it's a 30-page form, Rajdeep. It's not easy, as your young lady was saying on the show. It is extremely complex. For a corporate, there's a whole series of annexures. Why is this so complex to do? So the first thing is, what is happening with DTC? Secondly, with GST, I mean, if you look at where the bill is, we have no idea when it's going to happen and how diluted it's going to be. There's so many exclusions, there's so many producer states out. The BJP has an absolute majority in parliament and in many of these states. We want to see a tax reform. The third thing, for the Aam Aadmi, Mr. Chidambaram in his budget, if you remember, said that there were only 40,000 people who had an income of greater than 1 crore. The number of Audis and BMWs that you see here in Noida itself is more than 40,000. So what is happening here? I don't agree that it's, the upper classes which are not paying tax. And then our famous black money, the 15 lakhs which was supposed to come into all our accounts. Let us take the advice of Prashant Bhushan. Already in the last finance bill, we all have to declare whether we have any assets or bank accounts abroad. Let us now see the finance minister say in this budget that if you have not declared it, all assets and all bank accounts held abroad become the property of the state. Let's see them do that. Let's see them actually take political action which would be perfectly acceptable all across the country to address these issues.